Hi everyone. So today we are talking about chapters 5 and 6 from our communication text. And the first quote that I chose to talk about from chapter 5 is, "By paying attention to what a culture values, you can learn important clues about how to adapt your communication so that you respond appropriately to others. Respond appropriately to others' communication, establish quality relationships, and avoid making embarrassing errors." I think this is important whether or not you're interacting with other cultures. By paying attention to what people value, you start to understand their cultural background and are able to adapt your communication style to their communication style. I think we think about culture a lot of times based on origin or where you're from, but I think individual families often have their own cultural values and context, and I think it's important to recognize that each person has a slightly different background, cultural or not, and that understanding and paying attention to those can help you adapt your communication style to work effectively with others. The second quote I chose is, "According to one study, the number one factor that millennials wanted in a successful career was a sense of meaning. Researchers concluded that meaningful work was the most important faculty defining career success." I think that the author is basically saying here that millennials want to feel that their work is valued. They want to make a difference, and they aren't just satisfied with the regular 9-to-5 grind. I know that this is true in my own life for sure, but it kind of makes me wonder what the difference was for other generations. Why do millennials suddenly want meaning in their work, and why didn't people in the baby boomer generations want meaning, or earlier generations? I wonder if jobs were more meaningful back then, or if people spent more time with their families and found their meaning from that rather than from their work. And so I thought that quote was very interesting, and it stuck out to me because as a millennial, I do want meaning in my work, but I didn't realize that that's what other millennials want as well, and I thought that was very interesting. The first quote that I chose from chapter 6 is, although not a substitute for our families, quality workplace relationships make our working lives more meaningful. And this was the author was talking about how people generally spend more time at work than they do with their families. And I think that this is a really sad reality in our world today. I don't think that things should be this way. Work and life should maintain balance. I think that family is far more important than work, and much more important than relationships with coworkers. I do agree that it is important to have good relationships and work, and that it can provide much more meaning to have those relationships. But I find it sad that that's what people have to resort to, is building quality relationships at work because they don't have the time to do so at home. I think it's interesting that people expect and talk about a 40-hour work week, but the reality is 48 to 59 hours. It also makes me wonder if this is the reason millennials are looking for meaning in their work. If work takes precedence and takes the most time, then it makes sense that people would want meaningful work. If work is what you get, then you're going to look for meaning in work rather than at home. And the second quote I chose is from chapter 6 is, "In fact, many fail to see management for what it is, a relational communication process. Successful managers understand that work gets done through relationships." I think the author is basically saying here that management isn't about power. It is more an act of harmonizing people. Managers manage conflict and problems rather than having the power or control they imagined before becoming managers. I have two uncles who are both managers at different grocery stores. They constantly are dealing with conflict and managing people and problems more than anything else. their management positions are more about problem and relationship solving rather than controlling or running the business. They're managing relationships with people so that the business can operate with everyone involved. So these were the quotes that I chose for this week, and I'll talk to you all again next week.